It's time to talk taxes.
New friends, new opportunities, new partners. EG Tax.
It's Ask the Tax Lady with Esther Gulius and EG Tax on News Radio 930 WBEN. To reach Esther now, call 803-0930. Toll free at 1-800-616-9236. And cell calls are free at star 930. And now, live from the WBEN studios, it's Esther Gulius.
Hey everybody, this is the Tax Lady, and this is our hour to talk about taxes and what's happening in the federal government so that you're aware of what's going on before anybody else. So of course, we'll give you the straight scoop as soon as we get it. We also talk about not only taxes, we talk about important issues of the day. And today we're really, really blessed because one of the questions that people ask me all the time is about, do I need to estate plan? Do I need to give my house to my kids? When should I give my house to my kids? Do I need to put it into a trust? And all that kind of things for elder planning. And so we are very lucky. We have Dennis Kitchen in studio with us today. Hey, Dennis, thanks for coming.
Thank you, and pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Den. And so, I mean, tell me, what other radio program gives you free legal advice? And so you can call in 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone, and talk to Dennis. He's a wonderful friend. He is an attorney that we use all the time. He's a really smart guy, and he's also hobbling. Den, I understand you got a little bit of sciatica. Eh?
A little sciatica. So they're going to figure out.
And you know my story. I had sciatica.
Oh yes.
And then I got that teeter hanger, and I hang upside down. And you said it's a lot like being like a thermometer, right?
Yeah. That's all. The blood rushes to your head. You know, I'd have to be thinner to be called a thermometer, but.
But for me, it worked. So, I mean, I'll tell you, I got that teeter hanger, and I hang upside down like a bat like once a week, and it keeps the pain out of my legs. So, anyway, Den, we're really thankful that you came to spend our Saturday with us. And, of course, Chris Fabian's in studio with us. Hey, Chris, and your wife is not here.
My wife is not here. Nope. She's out right now at Darien Lake with Kingdom Bound, which I will be out there shortly, joining her. Always a great time. Weather's been holding up, so that's always a plus.
Yeah, I'll tell you. And yesterday, all the rain came through, but it went down to Pennsylvania. So it was wonderful because I know at the beginning of the week we thought towards the end of the week we thought that maybe it was going to be a washout, but thank God it wasn't. You know.
Yep.
It's great. Kingdom Bound is a really fine ministry for the Christians at Darien Lake, and anybody that wants to hear great Christian music, I will tell you. Who's playing tonight?
The Newsboys.
And they're always fun.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let us talk about estate planning. Do you need a will? Should you get a will? Who should be the executor? And all that kind of stuff. 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. You get to talk to Dennis, I would say face to face, but it's more like telephone to telephone. And again, you can talk about anything. If you're upset about what's going on in Congress, I know I just am fit to be tied. I can't believe there is a whole branch of government that ran on repealing and replacing Obamacare, and when push came to shove, they didn't do it. So if you want to talk about that, you're welcome to do that. I really am thinking, I was sure at the beginning of the year that there was going to be major tax reform. At this point in time, I don't know. We'll keep you posted as that comes down the pike. If they can't do health insurance, I can't understand how they'll ever come to terms on tax reform.
That's right.
You know?
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
I know. I was listening to a show during the week, and I don't know if it was Sandy Beach or if it was somebody else, but they said it almost seems like the Republicans were using this whole repeal and replace as a fundraiser for the last 10 years. You know, hey, vote for us, we'll get it done, give us your money. But then now when push comes to shove, they're just saying, nope.
Right. It's unbelievable. And I know there's all this, you know, all the negative stuff with Trump. Maybe it's because there's a backlash. They're afraid to stick their neck out because they don't think he's got enough power to cover them. Who knows? But anyway, I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. We want to hear what you have to say. If you've been sitting down with your family thinking, we got to do something with our assets, do we need a will? This is the time to talk to Dennis Kitchen. And again, if you're getting letters from the IRS, you're thinking about doing your extensions, you're wondering what to do with that, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 cell phone. And before we go to the phones, and I know we have Tammy waiting, Dennis, who really needs to estate plan?
Well, of course, I'd like to say everybody. But if somebody asks that question, should I be thinking about estate planning, then I guess you are. And that's probably a good thing. Usually the next question then is, do I need a will, or do I want to have a will? And what I usually tell people is everybody has a will, even if you haven't written one, because the New York State, as every other state does, has written what they call laws of intestacy, which is the laws of people who don't have wills, and they decide who gets what.
Do they kind of follow a format?
Oh, they do. It's logical. They say, well, are you married? If you're married, it goes to your spouse. Oh, but if you got kids and you're married, well, then it goes to your spouse and your kids, and it doesn't all go to the spouse. So if you're married and you have two little ones, a couple of toddlers and that sort of thing, you'd be your spouse will be surprised to find that oh no, I don't inherit everything from my husband who just dropped dead from a heart attack or was killed in an accident or something like that. Instead, I have to split it with the kids, which means put this money in trust for the kids.
So then it makes it tough for a younger wife.
It certainly makes it more complicated. Okay.
Now the other thing is, Dennis, if the state is making that decision, are they doing that for free?
Oh yeah.
Or is there a fee involved?
No. Well, of course, you'd have to file something in surrogate's court regardless.
So
whether
surrogate's
there's a will
court
or not.
costs money, right?
Yeah, it does. There are ways of supposedly avoiding probate. There was books written on this before, but the cost of probate is not really overwhelming. It shouldn't be, unless there's really some funny, knotty issue.
But okay, so give me an idea. Like, what would probate cost?
Oh, well, first of all, it depends upon the assets. If you have a very small estate, that's something less than $30,000, and there's no real estate, the filing fee is $1.
Okay.
Believe it or not. It's about the only thing I suppose you can buy for $1 now.
That's
outside of the dollar store.
Right.
Yeah, right. But it goes up and it runs into as much as say $1,200. But that's the top.
But that's my point. So people that don't do a will many times think, oh, I don't want to spend the money on a will, but the bottom line is if you have to go to surrogate's court, it's going to cost a whole bunch more than just doing a will.
Yeah, and usually things are easier when there's a will, and it answers certain questions. After all, who's going to administer your estate? Is it going to be your spouse? Maybe it should be. But if not, are you going to pick your brother or your sister or your cousin? Only you know who's best for something like that.
And that's very true. And I will tell you, and Chris, we see this all the time, where after the death, if they haven't picked an executor, you got all the kids at each other's throats sometimes.
Oh, even with an executor, you have kids.
That's true.
But,
I have one client that has a house in Florida now. It's been 4 years since the dad passed, and they all can't decide to sell this house in Florida.
Right.
So it's sitting down there kind of languishing.
Yeah, right.
But, you were bringing up the point about the costs of not having a will. Well, if you don't have a will, then you don't have an executor. So if, we'll say, Dennis is the lawyer who's handling it, probate, will become the executor, and then he takes a fee. No offense to Dennis, but I mean, I'm just saying how costly it could be, because if I became the executor of my mom's will, I wouldn't take the executor fees. But if a lawyer gets involved, it's probably a pretty much mandatory.
For free.
Right.
Well, yeah. It of course depends upon the case. I mean, typically the fees for a lawyer amount to about the same as what the commission is That's one rule of thumb to look at things.
Right, but a person could waive the commission.
Some people
lawyers
can do it themselves,
Yeah.
and then the smallest state, the surrogates court will actually give you a hand and help you do it yourself.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back on the other side with Tammy and Pat and your questions. 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. Line up those questions for Dennis Kitchen on the other side.
Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun. I say it's
all right. It's all right.
Keep your day job, baby.
Okay.
Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax, and we want to help you, whether it's tax related or today we have our special guest in studio, Dennis Kitchen, an attorney who's going to talk to you about estate planning or wills or gifting your house or all those things that you might be sitting around at the dinner table and say, I got to call an attorney. Now is your chance. 8030930, 8030930, star 930. And I know we've had Tammy waiting from Lockport for a long time. Tammy, how can we help you, my dear?
Hi, Esther. It's so nice to talk with you.
Thank you.
I actually have a question. Unfortunately, it's not about estate planning.
That's no problem.
But my question is, about 7 years ago, I got divorced, and I also lost my job about 6 months after that.
Okay.
When I was awarded maintenance, it was only $600 a month, and I've been living with a friend. So when I decided I might as well do my taxes online by myself, because I really didn't have anything.
Right.
But what I forgot to do at that time was to claim my maintenance, my alimony.
Okay.
So they came after me a few years later, and again, I have basically nothing to live on. So I was able to do an offer in compromise.
Okay, that's good.
And about a year ago, I got a letter saying that it was rescinded and that I owed all this money.
Okay. All right. So why did they say they rescinded? Did you not file your tax returns timely after the offer was made?
Right, because I guess I misunderstood what they were saying. When I spoke with my accountant and I looked on the IRS website, it says if you make under a certain amount of money, you don't have to file taxes.
Okay,
So,
but you have to timely file for 5 years after the offer.
Pardon me?
So you have to timely file and pay your liabilities for 5 years after the offer and compromise. Have you talked to the IRS about your misunderstanding about filing, because you had no liabilities, right?
Right. Yeah, I only have the $600 a month.
Okay.
Yes, actually, I had received a call, and I had called back, got a voicemail, explained my situation, didn't hear anything again until I got another letter a year later. So I was assuming after I spoke with them and I didn't hear anything that it was understood and taken care of. But now, of course, I get another letter just recently that, of course, is like hundreds of dollars more because of fees. And
all right, so let me tell you what I would do, Tammy. There's no charge. Give us a call on Monday. Bring down the letters. We will make the call on your behalf and explain to them that there is no liability. You have no taxes due. That you didn't understand that you had to file the returns anyway. And let's see what we can do, because no news with the IRS is not necessarily good news. So call us. There's no charge, 632-7886, and let's see if we can't unscrew the spaghetti for you, okay?
oh, that would be great. I appreciate that.
All right, Tammy. Have a good weekend. Okay, let's go to, and you know, that's what happens. I have to tell you, I was under the impression that you had to timely file for 5 years, but I didn't think that you had to file if you had no liability.
Right. So you
I'm
got to,
thinking that maybe they are misunderstanding.
or maybe the husband claimed more in maintenance.
In alimony,
Yep.
right. So that's why we have to talk to them. Why don't we go to Pat? Where's Pat?
Pat's from Tonawanda.
Pat from Tonawanda. Hey, Pat, how can we help you?
Okay. Hi, Esther. I'm calling. I 4.5 years ago, we put my home in a trust, And the other day, somebody said, well, you need a will. Well, given the fact that my home is in a trust, any investments I have beneficiaries, do I really need a will?
Okay, Dennis, you want to answer that?
Well, I take it an attorney set up your trust, correct?
Yes.
And he didn't recommend that a will be included?
Do you know that I don't remember that?
Well, you might kind of go through the papers or correspondence or something again, or even give that attorney a call. What's typical when they prepare a trust is they usually do a will, often a very, very short will, what we call a pour-over will. And it says that, well, if I've got anything that's not covered by this trust, I'm going to will it, I'm going to give it to the trust that I have set up. I pour it into that trust. And usually it's might be a 1 or 2 page will or something like this. But you might check and see. But it's usual to have something like that with a trust.
Hey, Pat, I got a quick question. Do you know, is it a living trust? Or is it, where your house, once you die, goes to your children's? Something like that, and you have life occupancy? Or is it a trust, a separate tax identity all by itself?
It's a separate entity, I believe, all by itself. Don't have lifetime use of the home, because he did say, I do remember him saying, if I wanted to go to Florida and live and sell this house that's currently in the trust, that the trust can be transferred to new property.
Okay. Well, without looking at it, it's a little difficult to fully analyze the whole thing.
Yeah.
But you may want to give your attorney a call and question the whole thing, ask him about a will, and he may recommend that you go ahead and get a will as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay?
Alrighty. Thank you very much.
All right, Pat.
Okay.
And Dennis, there's a difference. There's a difference in trusts too. There's a revocable and an irrevocable trust, right?
Right.
And in an irrevocable trust, it means that's ironclad. You gifted away the assets, and there ain't much you can do about it, right? But in a revocable trust, it means that you still have control of the assets, and you can put some in and take some out. So that's another question she'd want to ask her attorney, right?
Well, yes, and the revocable trust or the living trust is typically a revocable trust that at one point, usually at your death, becomes irrevocable. So,
which is a good time to do it.
Yes.
Well,
right.
now my mind's going with Pat's call now, because she said if she moves to Florida, she can sell this house. But with it going from her name, she gifted it to the trust, so that means the trust retains her basis.
That's right.
So then if she were to sell this house,
it would be taxable.
There's no more 2 out of 5 year exclusion.
Right.
So
she
could...
If it's a living trust, what she might want to do is put it in her name if she's going to sell it. Take it out of the trust, put it in her name, sell it, so that she could, because she's lived there 2 of the last 5 years, then it would make it tax-free.
Right.
Then she could go and buy her other house in Florida, if she's going, for instance, and put her new trust, or her new house in her trust.
Yeah.
But many times people don't think about that one step. By just leaving it in the trust, the basis changes. Goes back to the original donor's basis, and so the trust would end up paying taxes, and a lot of taxes.
A lot higher
taxed
than...
at a higher rate.
Right.
So anyway, I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax. We got free legal advice here today, or if you want to talk about any tax-related issue, 8030930, 8030930, star 930, and then let's go to Ed in Rochester. Hey, Ed, how can we help you?
Yeah, I was just curious if a trust is better. Well, in order to avoid probate costs, a long time ago they used to push, avoid probate.
Yes.
Trust. But I thought that, well, the trust isn't free, and the attorney's going to charge you, and you're going to pay the devil sooner or later, are you not? Or is it?
Well, that's true. And of course, what I usually point out is that where a typical will might cost maybe a few $100s, a living trust might cost $2,000 or $3,000. So that you're going to be paying kind of up front rather than paying later. It's true that a trust continues on even after your death, so that you can avoid certain probate costs. But often, depending on what you have and what kind of family complications there are, the probate costs aren't going to be overwhelming for a typical estate.
Right, but yes, but does the trust circumvent the probate costs, you're saying?
Well, it does, because with a living trust, it's like you as an individual don't own anything. Your trust owns it, and it owns it for your benefit and for your use and that sort of thing. But when you die, the owner, the trust, still goes on. And then it just has different beneficiaries it's got to be considerate of, not just because you're gone. It'll take care of your heirs and that sort of thing. But it more or less otherwise ignores the process that usually follows death, which is the probate process.
I guess. So the trust you pay up front, basically, then it's front loaded.
Yeah, you might say. And of course, there's still some things that probably have to be done anyway at the time of death. But it may save some money. But let me say this: you have to. I like to say that you have to have a certain personality to have a living trust, because you don't have a bank account. Your trust has a bank account. You don't own your house. Your trust owns your house. You don't own your car. Your trust owns your car, and you have to keep that constantly in mind. If you're the type of person who would feel comfortable doing that, oh, well, okay, go ahead with the trust. But otherwise, I think there are simpler ways of managing your affairs.
I was just curious if there's just kind of like a standard charge for a will, a power of attorney, and the healthcare proxy that you see in the paper all the time that everybody should have.
Well, yes, and I would say I typically will charge, let's say, for a single, maybe $250, or a couple, maybe $350, for a simple will with a healthcare proxy and a living will and a power of attorney. So, we do basically the whole package, and many other attorneys are about in the same ballpark.
Yeah, that's pretty competitive, I would think. Would you say, maybe this is a different wrinkle on it, for somebody that specializes in like Medicaid, elder care, and what you're talking about there, the trust versus will, do you have to go to or should you go to another lawyer who specializes in elder care law?
Well, that may be worthwhile. I've done some of that myself, and there are some standard ways of dealing with those issues. But there are attorneys who specialize and do almost nothing but that sort of thing, particularly the Medicaid planning. Yeah.
I notice their charges are somewhat higher than what you quoted too. So. Oh
well, now that's true, but there's more involved than just a will, a healthcare proxy, and a power of attorney. There's things like there may be a trust involved. There may be some more elaborate transferring of real estate and adjustment of various things, and of course, preliminarily, there's a lot of analysis, sitting down, looking at what you have and what the state of your health is, and the health of your spouse or other members of your family, and that takes some time, and of course that's going to cost more.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
And also the charge for Medicare also. That's another issue there.
Hey, Ed, we're going to have to take a break right now. We're against the clock, so we're going to have to take a break for news. Did you want to hang on till the other side, or are you good to go?
Yeah, it's a quick question on the Medicaid. Yeah.
All right, so why don't we put you on hold? We'll get you out after the news. I'm Esther Gulius, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. We have Dennis Kitchen, an attorney, in studio. We'll see you after the break.
You're a rich girl, and you're gone too far, 'cause you know it don't matter anyway. You can rely
Hey,
on
Frank,
the old
you play
man's
that
money.
song every
You
week
can
about
rely
relying on the old man's money, but I'm going to tell you,
rich girl,
at EG Tax, we know that you have to rely on your own money, and that's what we want to help you with. We want to make sure that you can save as much money as possible. That's why we have wonderful guests in studio during the off season to give you a heads up on what you should do. And today's guest is Dennis Kitchen, a wonderful friend, attorney. He's our attorney at EG Tax, and we're just really thankful that he came into the studio. Now, Chris, did you want to go back to Ed, who was waiting from Rochester? I think he had another question before the news break.
Yep.
Hey, Ed.
Thanks, you appreciate that. Just had one more quick question for Dennis. If you're thinking about Medicaid and the implications there, does that fall into the purview of an elder law attorney?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's probably one of the primary functions of an elder law attorney is dealing with the Medicaid planning, trying to come up with some solutions to avoid losing assets to the nursing home if it can be avoided.
And the other things that they would offer, like a POA healthcare, that's just ancillary to their main thrust of their practice of elder law.
Well, I would say that the simple will and the healthcare proxy and the power of attorney are fairly standard instruments prepared by almost any family lawyer or general practice attorney.
I see. I thought that you had to get those in order to qualify for the lawyer's Medicaid services.
No,
I think not. I think they do the whole kind of shebang. Don't they,
yeah. They'll probably do the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Right.
I got you. All right, listen.
Okay, thanks, Ed. We really appreciate your phone call. All right, let's go back to the phones. I know we've had Pat waiting for a while. Hey, Pat, how can we help you?
Hi, good afternoon. My question is, I'm a Florida resident, and my wife and I, and we're also snowbirds, so we come up to Buffalo to cool off during the summertime. And we have a residence up here in Glenwood. And do I need a will in Florida and New York?
No.
I get one made in New York that covers Florida.
No. A will if a will is valid in the state in which it was executed, that is where it was signed and everything, then it is valid everywhere. So if you have a will that you've made in Florida and you happen to pass away up here, then it will apply. It would apply up here.
Okay. Well, we don't have a will, so I guess we should. Our
Well, then you have two reasons that you don't. That you need a will.
And you need to be safe flying back and forth or
That's
driving
right.
back and forth.
That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can just go on the website and get your address.
Well, I'll give it to you. Dennis is at 8899 Main Street in Williamsville. And his phone number is 631-5661. 631-5661. And he's a really good guy. I think you'll like him.
Okay. And then we'll cover both areas.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. And Dennis, how often should you update your will?
Well, I think you need to, in general, probably think about it or look at it, that sort of thing, maybe about once a year anyway. But also, if a major event occurs, you really got to think about it. Now, when I say a major event, somebody in the family dies. Your situation has changed. Maybe you're retired, or maybe your spouse is retired. Or
maybe you got a divorce.
A divorce or a separation. That's the time you need to pull out the will and do it. And I've got some horror stories involving things like a couple that have been married now for a decade, but he never changed his will, and his will was geared to when he was previously married, and made his kids the executor of his estate, and left everything to his kids, and made no consideration for his current spouse. Yep. Big mistake, and it makes for a mess.
It really, and the thing is, we never know when that glorious day is going to happen, when
Yes.
we're called up yonder,
Yes.
And so you really, I know it sounds morbid, but I always try to, right after tax season, after I'm done working about 8,000 hours a week, I try to sit down and go over everything and make sure that I'm ready to pass on, so to speak. And I will tell you, it's a sobering thing, but it's necessary.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go back to the phones, and we're going to talk to Sharon in Williamsville. Hi, Sharon. How can we help you, my dear?
Hi, Esther. I do have a question. It doesn't concern me directly, but I have some family members, a relative who is 90 years old. She's been in good health up until, I would say, the past few months. Now she's going in and out of dementia. She's having lucid days and not so lucid days. But she has two daughters. This relative refused to give power of attorney to her daughters. The house is in her name, and all her accounts are in her name. Now the situation is getting rather dangerous, where they've actually contacted some nursing homes to apply to put her on a list. Now, is it too late for them to do anything about it? My cousin lives in this home. If she goes into a nursing home, they will take all my aunt's assets, including the home, most likely. Do they have any recourse at all at this point before placing her? She can't be left alone on some days. She has taken off and just started walking with her walker, and so it's really dangerous to leave her by herself. So
Now, there's a certain amount of money, Dennis, that you're allowed to keep. Is that not correct?
Oh, yeah. That's what the
I
situation.
mean, they're not just going to throw everybody out because she goes into a nursing home.
No. That's true. But you need to. She needs a power of attorney, and this is really a difficult situation. If she's refused to do this up until now, didn't want to give the power of attorney to the to one of the daughters, and now only has lucid moments. Well, a lucid moment may be enough to be able to go ahead and execute the power of attorney, but she has to want to do that. And if she resists it, then unfortunately it's going to put things kind of out of control. And eventually what's required is a court proceeding. If you don't have a power of attorney to have people handle your affairs, and it has to be imposed by a court, that's a whole big ball of wax, and it's just really it takes money, and it takes time, and it takes a lot of emotion to finally get a judge then to go ahead and appoint somebody, particularly if there's going to be a family argument about the whole thing.
Hey, Sharon, can I ask you, does she have a lot of assets? Do you know?
She does have some money.
I mean, what are we talking about? 100,000, 200,000?
Let's say maybe a couple 100,000.
Okay, so if she goes in right now, the 5-year look back.
Yeah.
She's going to have to be a private pay patient for a lot of it. She can spend down on certain things, right?
Yes.
But basically probably a lot of her money, and this is why we try to talk about these things.
Is there somebody who could care for her at home if they had some assistance?
Well, we're thinking of that now, but we're afraid that when she's by herself with this aide or this person, she's just going to say, "Well, I don't want you here."
Yeah.
House.
Yeah, that's a concern, but at least monetarily, if somebody gets home care aid through Medicaid, they're not as worried about the of having to lose assets over it,
right,
as they are when somebody goes into a nursing home.
Right. They're not too concerned about the cash assets, and mind even paying that to a nursing home. I would I would hate to see the one daughter if they would seize the house.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
That's all she has, you know.
Yeah.
So, and can you give it the name of a good attorney who handles elderly care?
Well, you know, Dennis, you do a certain amount of it, but we use
Yes.
Jeffrey Katz. Jeffrey Katz is also a great elder care attorney, and he's also a sponsor of ours. So either Dennis or Jeffrey Katz, but Jeffrey Katz's specialty is elder care.
And I'm in the Williamsville area, and I do handle this sort of thing, so I'd be happy to sit down with somebody and go over it.
Good. I'll give her the names and let them make the decision.
Good.
Thank you so much, and I'm sorry to take up so much of your time.
All right, no problem. Thanks for calling. I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on a cell phone. And Dennis's phone number is 631-5661. And
you know, I was going to say, one of our shows before us, Mike's famous saying is, people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. And that's a typical example of someone, I don't need to do it. And then when you do, it's too late.
Yeah, I have seen many people, and I know, Dennis, you have too, and Chris, where somebody has $200,000 in assets, they won't cooperate and do any planning, and then at the end, all of their money goes to pay for a nursing home, and there's nothing to give to their family.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go back to the phones. Oh, no, actually, why don't we take a short break right now? We'll break do our last break, then we'll be back with Dennis Kitchen and your questions, Debbie, Mark, and everybody else on the other side of the break.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me, cocked your head to the side and said I'm angry. 5 days since you laughed at me, saying get that together, come back and see me.
Hey, I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax, and we got a special guest in studio today. We're talking about what to do to plan for your estate, elder planning, gifting a house, wills, and we have special guest in studio, Dennis Kitchen. His phone number is 631-5661. He's right on Main Street in Williamsville, and He's a really great guy to go see. So let's go back to the phones, and we're going to talk to Debbie, who's been waiting. Hey, Deb.
Hi. Thank you so much for putting on such an informative show for us to be able to call.
Sure.
I'm going to do my best to ask this question and try to simplify the scenario here. I'm really calling because of my granddaughter, who's 25 years old. This is the situation. My daughter-in-law, her mother, and my son separated many years ago, okay? She went forward. They never got a divorce or legal anything, nothing. They just kind of went their separate ways. And she bought a house. Her father bought a house under his name for her to live in. And she lived in it and with my granddaughter, and she worked and paid on the house and everything. Well, the grandfather, my daughter-in-law's father, died about 12, 13 years ago. He didn't have a will, and the kids did nothing. They just kept going forward, as if nothing, whatever. There was property. This property was in his name and another house. And then, unfortunately, my daughter-in-law got cancer and died a year and a half ago at the age of 42.
Oh.
So then she had no will. And this family, they just did nothing. Now my granddaughter, who's 25, moved into this house that her mother had been living in and paying for all these years, but it was under the father's name, the grandfather's name, and that's how she's living. She's moved in there, paying for everything, working, and I keep saying, something's got to give here. You guys got to do something legally here.
Well, and Dennis, you see that kind of stuff all the time, right?
I do, and of course, if you look around for the cast of characters of who's going to raise an objection and who's going to be a problem, well, there isn't anybody. There's a granddaughter, she's living there, and that sort of thing. But wait till she tries to, let's say, refi, or she tries to sell the house or something like this. Well, then it's a question of, excuse me, but you don't own it. It's owned by, and they give the name of the grandfather.
Even in her name.
And he says, oh, well, he's dead. Oh, is there an estate, a surrogate's court proceeding? I don't know. And so somebody has to start from scratch.
Boggles my mind, really.
Well, it is mind-boggling to the average person, but it can all be made clear. You need to, your granddaughter needs to sit down with an attorney, and they'll get to the bottom of the whole thing. They'll get death certificates, they'll file petitions, they'll get things going, and they'll get the title cleared up so that it's eventually, hopefully, in her name.
But again, it's like anything. You have to do it.
Yeah.
You have to start somewhere.
You got to jump through the hoops, and it takes an attorney to give you a boost through them.
Okay, and that's what I figured that we didn't know what kind of an attorney to call, like a real estate attorney, an estate attorney, or we didn't even know where to begin.
Every competent attorney who does estates and probate, such as myself, and I do a lot of probate work, that sort of thing, could handle that whole thing. It's probably going to be a little complicated, but nothing beyond what an experienced attorney can handle.
And what a horrible thing at some point in time, if she wants to sell it or she wants to refinance it. I mean, she's paid all this money, and then it'll be a mess. Because
what if she put it up?
When she needs the money, yeah.
What if she put it up for sale and had a contract of sale, and then she's got to try and put the title together?
Right.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Pardon me. Well, could I just call your office then?
Sure.
Miss, what is your last name?
Kitchen, just like the room.
He's Dennis Kitchen.
Yep.
Kitchen?
Yep.
Kitchen, right.
And his
like bedroom kitchen, he's Kitchen.
Yeah,
He's
right.
Dennis Kitchen.
And
his phone number, Debbie, 631-5661.
Okay, and is there an initial fee for this consultation?
No. Just explain your Debbie from the radio, and I'll be happy to talk to you.
Okay.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay.
I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone. These are the things that people ask about, Dennis, all the time. Nobody knows exactly what to do, so sometimes they do nothing.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes nothing works for an extended
number of
period
years.
of time.
It sounds like nothing was working for a long time.
Yeah.
Only if you want to do something is it going to be a problem.
Yep.
All right, let's go back to the phones and we'll talk to Mark. Hey, Mark, how can we help you, sir? Hello, Mark.
Yes. I'm in the market to buy a house. I currently own my own house. It's worth at least $100,000. And I'm looking at buying a house in the $200,000 range. I have money in the bank, over $100,000, and money in my 401k, in which half of it's a Roth IRA, over $100,000 there. And I was wondering if I don't sell my house right away, like make a contingent, what's my best deal? Is it borrowing money from my 401k, getting a mortgage, or?
Okay, so anytime you take money out of your pension plan and you're under the age of 59 and a half, even if it's a Roth, part of the appreciation can be taxable and subject to penalty. Okay, so even a Roth, you can, if you take money out of your Roth, and of course that money's set aside for your retirement. Don't forget that. So you may want to look at a mortgage because you can get a mortgage for 4%.
Security.
Pardon me?
I'm also disabled on Social Security. I don't know if that makes a difference with the age limit or whatever.
Well, actually, if you're totally you're not working at all then, correct, Mark?
Right.
All right, so there's an exception to penalty. But the bottom line is you still are taking money out of your pension plan. So have you thought about a mortgage? Because you're looking at like 4.5% to borrow the money. The money in your Roth and in your traditional IRA, how much is that making?
About 6-7%.
All right, so if you're making 6% and you're borrowing it at 4%, it means you're really borrowing the money you're making 2% on borrowed money. So before, and Dennis and Chris, see what you would think.
I would.
But before you go ahead and take the money out of your pension, which has to last for the rest of your life, I would seriously think of doing a mortgage first.
Well, I was wondering about possibly borrowing against the money that's in the pension.
Okay, you can't borrow against money that's in a pension unless you're working, and you're not working.
Okay.
All right, so what I'd say, obviously a mortgage would be fresh money, and again, it doesn't affect your net asset worth, except it's just that your money is still protected in the pension. And if anything goes wrong in the future, that money is protected even if you had to file a bankruptcy. So whereas if you take that money out and pay cash for a house, well, that is an asset that they could take in a bankruptcy. So you just really want to make sure that you know what you're doing before you take the money out of your pension plan. Would you agree with that, you guys?
Yeah.
Most definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you think anybody would give a mortgage to someone who's not working?
Well, it all depends on how much money how much money are you getting on your disability?
Well, Social Security, like 13 something a month.
And what other source of income do you have, Mark?
Right now, nothing.
How did you acquire so many assets? You were just a good saver when you were working?
Yeah, good saver, and I'm also a widower, and so I had in the 401k, a lot of it was my wife's pension, and some of it was the original, what do you call it, payment from workers' comp.
Okay, so at $1,300 a month, if that's all the income you have, and your investment income is how much?
About 140, 150K.
No, your income. You're getting $150,000 a year from your investments?
Oh, no. That's
So maybe $7,000 or $8,000, right?
Oh no, yeah, and that money I don't touch. It just keeps getting reinvested.
Okay. Well, then it would be a problem to get a mortgage.
Yeah.
May I ask why you want to get such an expensive house?
Well, no, I'm just not necessarily $200,000, but a little bit more than what I'm living in.
Is this going to be a second house and you're going to rent the other one, or what?
Oh, no. I would eventually move there, but to not have to move all in one shot or make a home purchase contingent on me selling my house.
Yeah, well, obviously, in order to get a mortgage, you have to prove that you can make the payment.
Yeah.
So that might be a problem because $1,300 a month. There's no other household income coming in, correct?
Right.
You don't have workers' comp coming in.
A military disability, nothing.
Not anymore. No.
Okay, so it may be that you will have to take the money out of your Roth, and again, because you're totally and permanently disabled, there wouldn't be a penalty for that. But again, I'd think about it hard and long, because I would hate to see you deplete all your assets and put it into a piece of property. You know, it may not be the best. It may make you feel good, but it may not be the best financial move.
Yeah. And Mark, if you want to give me a call on Monday, I have a mortgage broker I know who deals with a lot of different banks. And, you know, it may be you may have to take $25,000 out of the Roth, you know, to bring down what the mortgage is for.
In other words, not the whole $100,000.
Yep.
Right. Which may be a lot smarter.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark. Hey, thanks for calling.
What about borrowing against my existing house? Because I own it outright and it's worth over $100,000.
Well, we're assuming that you're going to take that money to buy the new house. You're going to sell it and then, right?
Yeah, but I don't want to make it contingent. I want to have a couple months maybe to move stuff, because you.
Yep. Well, the home equity is all going to depend too on the payback of the home equity loan.
But Mark, it just seems very scary to me that you would deplete all of your savings to buy another house cash, and you haven't sold your first house.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a really scary thing to me. What I would suggest you do, there's no charge. We're very happy to sit down with you and give you, because we're going to do the devil's advocate so that you have another opinion. But I would be very fearful to liquidate all of my pension money to buy a new house while I still have my old house.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because what if, God forbid you got this new house and the old house, and something happens in the economy and now you can't sell it. So now you have no nest egg to fall back, no safety net on this side, and you have two assets.
Huh.
I mean, it's kind of a what-if scenario, or you hope it doesn't happen. But you know what? Stranger things have happened in people's lives. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thanks for calling. I'm Esther Gulias, the tax lady from EG Tax. That's just part of what we do. We certainly don't want to see you shoot yourself in the foot, and we don't want to see Mark shoot himself in the foot either. But if you need some great legal advice, Dennis Kitchen is available. He's at 8899 Main Street in Williamsville. He's a really good guy. You'll see him on his crutches because he's got the sciatica. And his phone number.
Maybe he'll be hanging upside down.
That's right, on the teeter-totter. 6315661 is his phone number. And, of course, EG Tax is there all the time to help you. And our website is egtax.com. Have a great week. If you're going to Kingdom Bound, be blessed tonight. I'll see you next week. I'm Esther Gulias, Chris Fabian, and Dennis Kitchen. Bye-bye.